Yes.
All right, folks, we'll come back to together here after lunch. Just to remind the commission, be sure to turn your mics back on when you go to speak with the little red light. And we will pick up here where we left off. We are down to rebuttal evidence and cross-examination by the applicant. Mr. Baxter.
Chairman, I think Mr. Moss is going to come forward and address some of the concerns that were raised by the opposition.
Okay.
Make sure and speak up. I know people in the hearing them do this, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, that's good.
Thank you. I wanted to address Mr. Hudson's comments about the lights. There won't be any street lights, especially around the rear. So there won't be any issue with street lighting in the back of his house. The street lights will be out in the parking lot and would be, there would be down lights, be shielded from spreading out. One point I wanted to make was regarding the changes, the economic, physical, and socioeconomic changes that have happened for Allen Lane, and that's the addition of the interchange, the new interchange, and the widening of Allen Lane, I think changes things there dramatically. Just to reiterate, we had some more comments that this is affordable housing. It's not affordable housing. I want to make sure that we understand that. And I guess that's it. That's really all I had to address.
You're saying, and you gave a definition, that this is what they call workforce housing.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that takes care of everything that we have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we'll move into rebuttal evidence and cross-examination by the opposition. You have 10 minutes, so whoever would like to speak first, come forward. And
Robert Gilbert, 814 Artisan Parkway, LaGrange.
Okay.
Number one, Mr. Moss has worked on this board for a few years. He knows how to present every bullet item to get his project across, and that's very evident. Couple things. The 1999 real estate valuation for property next to apartments, throw that out. This is 2022. It's pointless. Real estate has changed so much in the last 7 or 8 years. It's pointless. It has no value. Number two, the traffic. This has been brought up before. I lived there. I've lived there for 9 years. I know what the traffic is. If you go back to prior to the pandemic, the traffic was entirely different. And I can tell you now that they picked a time capsule in the morning and a time capsule in the evening when they figure most people are coming and going from work. Half of our community works from home, number one. The only way to get an accurate traffic check is put those tubes on the road 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. Because I can tell you, I might run a Walmart at 9 o'clock at night, and there might be 3 cars at the bottom of my community waiting to turn out on Allen. It's entirely changed the dynamic, and we have to look at that. The other problem I have is we have a piece of property that is R2, R2, R2A or whatever it was, and R2 that he wants to develop in R4. So we're going to take a piece of property out of the middle of all this R2 and change it. I agree with what's been said before. There's other R4 property available. He has his own property if he wants to develop it. That's pointless. I'm just saying the reason we have zoning is to protect the rights of everybody. Mr. Moss does also have rights, right? I'm a capitalist. I believe in free enterprise, right? We're not stopping him from developing his apartment complex. In fact, the apartment complex you have down in Crestwood is really quite nice. I've driven by it. But look where that is. It's next to like a tractor supply place. There's a shooting gallery in the back that I go to once in a while. I mean, it's surrounded by light industrial, or whatever you want to call it, light commercial, right? This is surrounded by totally R2. And I can't believe that we're even questioning the idea that we're going to take that piece of property and change it when everything that touches it on three sides is R2. I mean, I'm blown away that's even a consideration. If it was the only piece of property in the county, it would be worth talking about. But Oldham County's big. There's other properties available. There's other property down Allen Lane that could be purchased, right? The property down at the end on the right side was for sale for one point. I don't know, I'd tell you, 10 acres. But all I'm saying is, I'm totally against it. I don't think it's right. And I'm hoping the board will see it that way.
Thank you, sir. All right, next.
Remind him it's rebuttal.
I will. And I don't believe you were sworn in, and
Teacher conference. So my name is Samantha Kilfoyle. I live at 812.
let me get you sworn in here.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
And I want to need name and address, and also this is rebuttal. So don't add it.
I'm watching.
Okay.
My name is Samantha Kilfoyle. I live at 812 Artisan Parkway. I have a couple rebuttals, maybe questions. The biggest one is the validity of the traffic analysis. My question and concerns is the validity. It was like Bob, my neighbor here, said, it was done in 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. And when I was watching, I believe it was done by your son. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, this is rebuttal, so we're really kind of past the question.
I was curious if he was actually a W-2 employee. Does he work for the company that actually did the traffic assessment? Or was he a kid with an Apple phone? So I was just wondering about that. The next thing in the rebuttal is I'm a mom of 5 children. I put my life savings into putting a down payment on my home. My home is now for sale in Artisan Parkway. And I might get emotional about it because we were excited to finally find a place to come. And our kids are in East Oldham Middle School. I have a senior in Oldham County High School. I have a daughter that goes to Crestwood United Methodist that's going to be going to Centerfield. And I'm not going to stay if this is approved, because I'm not going to let my life savings go down when the property values go down, even though he doesn't appear to think they will. I think everyone in this room knows they will. And I ask you and I plead with you not to approve this. I've got 5 children now that they're packing up their rooms because we're going to move for a 3rd time. We came to Oldham County because my son needed a heart transplant, and we've stayed here because of the schools. I have a child in hospice, and I don't want to pack up and leave. And I know that this doesn't necessarily affect everybody in the room, and it doesn't affect Mr. Moss, but it does affect us. We live on this little rendering of gray, our homes with people and families that are now going to be uprooted. Bob, my neighbor, put his retirement in buying 3 homes into Artisan Park. He's trying to build a home on another open lot. And it's going to greatly affect us. And I just need you to know that this is not just a zoning decision. This is a decision that's going to affect people that live here. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Got about 4 minutes left. Anybody else have a final statement? Or excuse me, rebuttal?
There's still going to be time for.
Yes, absolutely.
There's still time for a closing statement after this.
Correct.
I need to reiterate my name and all that.
You just name, we fine.
Joyce Lupian. The address, it was addressed earlier about the water. We have terrible water pressure. All of us in Artisan Park. We have complained about it. They don't seem to be able to do anything about it, or financially, will they do anything about it? So you're going to put more residents and multiple families into that? I don't think so. Because it's really bad now, and it's not going to get any better if you add more piping to it. Because they're not going to give us any more pressure, because they haven't been able to so far. Another thing is, we are in one of these, at the top of the hill on Artisan Park. He's already cleared the trees, which is his right to do so. It was his property. But it broke our hearts as they came down, knowing he was doing it, number one, because he thinks it's a shoo-in to get through. He thinks you guys are going to go, rubber stamp, no problem, you got it. And that's not appropriate. As the woman ahead of me said, you are affecting lives here. It's not just, oh, let's do this because we can get more money. So I lost my train of thought. Anyway, that's my age showing, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't think of what I was going to say now. Thank you. Please don't let this go through, please.
Thank you. All right, got a minute or so left on rebuttal. Anyone else?
Matt Hudson, 911 Artisan Parkway. For a minute and a half, I want to talk about values. I do plan to make a closing statement later, but you know anything about markets, you know that buying pressure raises values and selling pressure lowers values. And since we received the notice of this proposed zoning change and development, there's been a remarkable change in atmosphere in the neighborhood. People are talking about selling. People are putting signs in their yards, putting their houses on the market. And there are people who have actually sold. I've seen no buying pressure since this started. So regardless of the studies from 23 years ago, regardless of anybody's prediction, my observations are that there's selling pressure in Artisan Park now because of this proposal. I can't imagine what would happen if the proposal is approved. That pressure is going to increase, and I promise you the values are going to continue to go down.
Thank you. All right, time has expired on rebuttal, evidence, and cross-examination. So we're down to final statement of the opposition. Who would like to go first? And you have 5 minutes total. Anybody have a final statement? You have a final statement? Mm-hmm.
Make sure and save time for anybody else who wants.
I will. Thank you, Jim. I just want to say I have 3 boys also that are in cross country, and they jog up and down the road, and it is sometimes dangerous. I drive a truck because I am in construction, and when you come over the train track by the church there, and when you're driving a truck, you can't hardly see the car in front of you that's coming up the other way. And so it's really, really dangerous. Also, during peak traffic hours, if the train is coming through, I've had it where I can't get into the neighborhood because it's backed up all the way, which is, it is what it is. Not a big deal. You got to wait a few minutes, but it's just one of those things where if you add an apartment complex, you're adding a lot more cars per day. I've read that an apartment adds about 7 drives per day per apartment. A home adds like 8 or something like that. So if you have 100 apartments, you're adding about 700 drives a day. Now, those could be at whatever hour of the day. But when you have a train stop or going through town, it gets very backed up. And then also, more importantly, it's just driving over that track. Danger of that and multiplying the number of vehicles per day on that is, I think, would be irresponsible. I would say if you guys are going to approve it, I would say approve it when the road is done, not when it starts, because the lawyer said he said if you make it pending the road starting, you got to be very specific on when that is, because the official, you could kind of say the road is starting now, right? Every year they put flags out like they're starting to do something, but every year nothing happens. And so I would be, if they want to do it, God bless them. I would just say be smart with when it actually happens for safety reasons.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I actually know Steve Moss, and I don't have any doubt that he sees a need for the community and wants to fill it. We do need, and I mean, I've lived here 20 years. And it's always been a problem for businesses to find workers, because typically in our upper middle class environment, kids grow up, they graduate from school, they move away, they go to college. By the time they graduate college, they're not interested in working these hourly, moderately paid jobs. They're educated and they're entering the professional workforce. The problem is, although Mr. Moss has the right idea, wrong time, and it's the wrong place. Allen Lane has been in the process of being improved for years, way longer than I've lived in Artisan Park. There's no guarantee that construction is going to start in 2023. There's no guarantee that it's going to start in 2033. So this idea that the improvements on Allen Lane will be able to sustain this apartment complex, it's premature. Secondly, we have a comprehensive plan that includes varying areas of zoning in the eastern corridor of Allen Lane. For the commission to say that Mr. Moss's approval fits with the comprehensive plan would require a change of that plan and changing the zoning to R4. That's completely inappropriate when there are other parcels in that general vicinity that haven't been developed yet. And there may be parcels all over Oldham County that would fit his criteria that haven't been developed yet. The fact that they're not for sale really is not the commission's problem. That's Mr. Moss's problem. He says that there's nothing available for him to buy. I would submit that's because he's not submitting, or he's not proposing an adequate asking price or selling or purchasing price. So I'm going to again ask the commission to deny this proposal because it's premature and it's not compatible with the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a few minutes left here.
Tom Knable. On behalf of the HOA board, we unanimously have voted against this project in our board, and we ask that you deny it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, I believe the final statement time of 5 minutes is expired. So for the opposition, I'll call on now for the applicant for a final statement for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your all's time today. On behalf of Mr. Moss, we are asking that you recommend this zoning map amendment and you approve the development plan that he has put forth. I've been doing this a long time. I started cutting my teeth coming in front of you all when I represented people that oppose projects. And I have learned over the years that you can come up here and have an argument that something shouldn't be approved, but you have to have something called evidence. And when you come up here and you say, for example, that we know that what Ms. Zimmerman has testified to, a traffic expert who has followed the criteria of the zoning regulations, we don't believe what she's saying. Well, they don't have evidence to rebut what Ms. Zimmerman said. Ms. Zimmerman presented a traffic assessment as required by the regulations, which indicates that there is not any need for there to be any other improvements to this roadway based upon the conditions that are going to exist on Allen Lane per the testimony of Mr. Urban before we got started at this hearing. So to come in and dispute that what she's done is wrong without any evidence is not fair to Ms. Zimmerman. It's not fair to the applicant in this particular situation. There's been issues raised that, for example, there's a problem with the water pressure, but part of the process is we have to go to technical review before we ever get in front of you all. And when we go to technical review, we have to submit our plan, and our plan is presented to LaGrange Utilities in this particular situation. And LaGrange Utilities looks at it and they say whether or not we can proceed forward with our plan, whether or not there's going to be adequate capacity. If there's not adequate capacity, they're going to tell us what we have to do to fix that. But to come in and say, well, you should deny this because we don't have any water pressure, even though my client has gone before the technical review committee and had the experts, LaGrange Utilities, say that there is in fact adequate pressure, would be an inappropriate thing for you all to do. That's the evidence in the case. So the evidence in the case is that Allen Lane has industrial property on the west side. It has proposed R4 to the north of Artisan Park. It has R4 that is proposed to the south of it. The conditions out there have changed throughout the years. My client testified. I responded to a question from Mr. Douglas about the changing conditions out there. When Allen Lane was built, the bridge didn't exist. When Allen Lane was built, there was no proposal to have an interchange out there to attach to the bridge, which is going to come. So there are changing circumstances, things that change in the community, in the area, that allow you all to revisit zoning. Because if there wasn't a way for you all to revisit zoning, because if the comprehensive plan map was governed every zoning situation in this county, you all would never have a zone change. There would never be a case presented to you all where somebody could ask for a zoning map amendment, because you have to follow exactly what is on this map. The circumstances, regardless of whether or not they change, you all are stuck with this map until that map changes. And we all know that's not how this is done. That when an applicant comes in, they present a plan to you and they give you the reasons why. And Mr. Moss has given you the reasons why that this is needed and appropriate for this particular location. He has presented a plan that complies with the regulations that have been propounded by the county. They conform with those things. He has followed the directives after we went to the TRC to make the appropriate changes to the plan. And his plan is something that is necessary in the community. So those circumstances support recommending the zoning map amendment. Ms. Bonet thought, I'm going to ask him this question. This is going to kill the project right here. Will you wait until the Allen Lane improvement is underway? Would you agree to that? And she thought the answer to the question was going to be, can't do it. And Mr. Moss stood up and he said, absolutely. He is willing to work within the guidelines that you all are going to impose on him in order to get this project approved. And from that perspective, we have presented a case, we have presented an application. We ask that you all approve the development plan and that you recommend to the LaGrange City Council the zoning map amendment. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Points. One of the opponents testified that I served on this board. And I'm sure you guys know that I did not. I served on the Code Enforcement Board, which is a different body. And regarding property values, in Camden Wood, the cottages of Crestwood were built next door, and they sold out after Camden Wood was built, and there was no property devaluing.
Okay. All right. Time has expired on the final statement of the applicant. So now, as always, commissioners, the docket PZ 22008 and PZ 22009 are now closed. And I'll call on Mr. Urban to outline, we will, as commission, consider the zoning map amendment on docket PZ 22008 first. So, Mr. Urban.
There you go. Yep. It is a recommendation to City of LaGrange for either approval or denial of the zoning map amendment from R2A to R4. As always, in your staff report, there are sample motions on page 3. Again, the recommendation for a zoning map amendment does not have any binding elements attached to it. If you move forward, those will go on the development plan. What I would say to you is make sure that you include in the motion in either direction that justification. So you've heard evidence and testimony on both sides, and you need to make sure, and Mr. Carter will check to make sure we have an adequate motion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, we are now considering the zoning map amendment request on 9.6 acres, and the zoning change. This recommendation will go to the LaGrange City Council from recommendation from R2A residential district to R4 residential district. So at this point, we'll open it up for any motions on the zoning map amendment. Oh, sorry. Oh, Ms. Bonet. Yes.
Don't care for cases like this because I have no doubt that Mr. Moss is a wonderful developer and would create a wonderful development. However, I move to deny the zoning map amendment based on the testimony heard today. Basically, I feel like the existing zoning is completely appropriate based on the roads, the schools, the infrastructure, the character of the area. You can see it in the aerial photos. What is there is appropriate. And while a lot of people will say we should have, could have, now we're saying, well, we will, we shall, we can, but there are so many things that you want to happen and you think about the planning and getting everything done. But for right now, it's just appropriate the way it is. There's no reason to change the zoning in my point of view.
Okay. Mr. Carter, is that an adequate motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to deny the recommendation to the LaGrange City Council on the zoning map amendment. Do we have a second? Mr. Finney, seconds. All right. Any discussion now on the motion to deny the recommendation to the LaGrange City Council?
As usual, when you have a motion to deny, you have to think about your answer. If you vote yes, you are supporting the motion to deny. If you vote no, you are against the motion to deny.
Right.
So make sure and the commissioners are reminded of that.
Right. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? This is a motion to deny. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll call on the secretary to take the vote here. And this is a motion of a recommendation to the LaGrange City Council to deny the zoning map amendment. So as Mr. Urban pointed out, if you vote yes, you would be voting to approve or not approve the zoning map amendment.
Ms. Walser?
Yes.
Ms. Mauser? Mr. King?
No.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Klingenfuss?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Finney?
Yes, because I feel people have the right to purchase property with some assurance that their surroundings will be in the future as delineated by the zoning map.
Davis? Mr. Elder? Ms. Bonet? Mr. Douglas?
All right, the motion to send a recommendation to the LaGrange City Council to deny the zoning map amendment from R2A to R4 under docket PZ 22008 passed on a vote of 8-3. I'm sorry.
Remembering something different, was John Falvey here earlier?
He was. He had a doctor. So the record needs to show that he will. It will. Yep, we're good. So, like I say, the vote was 8-3. So, with that, we will not consider docket PZ 22009, which is the development plan. If and when it goes to LaGrange City Council, and if they make a decision that's to approve it, then it would have to come back to us for consideration of the development plan. So with that, commissioners, we've got under other business, we have election of officers, and we will pick that up at this point. King, would you assume the duties of the chair?
They're not being loud, but yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and come to order here. We are moving into election of officers. At this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for chair of Oldham County Planning and Zoning. Mr. Klingenfuss.
Nominate Kevin Jeffries.
We have Kevin Jeffries nominated as chair. Any others? Ms. Davis seconds. Any additional? All right. Mr. Council, can we do this by voice vote since we have one nomination only? All right. All in favor of reappointing Mr. Jeffries as chair of Oldham County Planning and Zoning signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Chair, the chair is yours.
You want it or not?
I'm good.
Them really wants it, we can give it to them. I don't know if he
Well,
does
thank
it,
you.
I can get some.
Thank you, Mr. King, and thanks everybody for re-electing me as chair. I plan and hope to be able to continue on here, and I am running for magistrate, and so if and when that happens, and if I do get elected, then I will have to step down from the planning commission. But anyway, appreciate the confidence, and we'll move forward here, and so I'll open it up at this point for the office of vice chair of the planning commission. I'm sorry? Okay. Mr. King, all right. And do we have any additional nominations? Seconded, okay. Any additional nominations? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a voice vote on that. All those in favor of electing Mr. King as vice chair of the Oldham County Planning Commission signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Okay, Mr. King, congratulations, sir.
For your confidence and support, everyone.
Okay. All right, Ms. Albee, anything additional?
The filing deadline is tomorrow. Staff's not aware of any we've not received any applications to date, and we're not aware of any applications that may be coming in. So as always, we will email out at the end of the week or beginning of next week whether or not we received applications.
And what about Thursday night SRC?
We do have sorry. We do have study review committee Thursday night, 5 o'clock. I reserved the large conference room and this room, depending on how many people. We're going to be talking about road capacity standards. I don't want to say it incorrectly, not road design.
Roadway stormwater engineering design standards for construction.
Okay. K-factor.
Did you say Thursday at 5?
Gutter spread.
Thursday at 5. You're not required to come, but it is open to the public, so you're more than welcome to come and learn.
Be part of, we could take credit hours for that.
Assuming so.
Because it'll be a fascinating speaker. Yeah, and I think it will be appropriate if other commissioners want to come and even the SRC members, that this is an educational presentation. You're not going to be asked to make any decisions. It's just the beginning of this discussion. So I think that easily we could count those as training hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else, Ms. Albee? Okay. Well, anything else from the commission? Okay, seeing none, we stand adjourned at about 1:50. Oh, Mr. Douglas, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Spoke to Mr. Urban about this, and I don't know if you want to do it in this form, but later down the road, I was just recommending to him a decision to be made on the apartment and school capacities with apartments. I mean, I just feel like it's putting us in a bind, making decisions on building permits, and then all of a sudden apartments come in and there's no regulations for that. And how do we regulate that on developers on building homes?
Yeah, and I will just add that I have been asked by the school board to participate with the long range planning committee. That's a 4-year process, and we do it every 4 years. And this is my third time. So that we will definitely have that discussion amongst that group, and then the recommendations from LPC, and that goes with building capacity and schools, where they're going to build schools and expand schools, things like that. So I plan on having that discussion within that committee, and then that committee makes a recommendation to the Oldham County School Board. And then whatever the decision they make has to go to Frankfurt to be approved, from the Department of Education. So, I think that'll be a good forum to hopefully, vet some of these concerns.
But the school capacity doesn't go to Frankfurt.
No, it does not. No, but it does. But it does. What the discussion will be is, schools, and, where they're going to build schools and expanding schools and handling the capacities. So
I just wanted legal clarification, because a lot of times I've heard commissioners, even ourselves, discuss about the school capacities. And we make determinations on developers on how many permits they're allowed to do, but it doesn't seem to be.
I haven't heard the schools say they didn't have.
I know.
Right.
What's all you gonna do when they say you do it?
I don't know.
Okay, point made. Yes, sir. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, if not, we stand adjourned, and I apologize again for the technical issues. We found out it wasn't as serious as we thought it was, but it was still an issue. So thank you all very much. We stand adjourned.